It's time for What the H, because John brought this up yesterday. This is why we talk every single Monday before the show, because he brought this up he has an incredible group of emailers. He has an email chain, and they are able to give him some feedback as to this Tennessee football team. And he brought something out of left field that I thought, man, that couldn't be better than What the H, because we're going to do that right now. It's brought to you by Zen Sports.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, so the question was brought up in John's circle, and I want to get your thoughts as well. Is this Tennessee team boring? And I was taken aback by John even bringing that up. I don't think it's boring, and I'll tell you why. First, John, if you can share the sentiment from the people you hear from that this is a boring Tennessee football team.
Well, let's put this in perspective. It wasn't as though I got 1,000 emails on this, but a couple of people brought it up, and I can understand that. It's all relative. Look what Tennessee was the first 2 years under Josh Heupel. Tennessee's averaging 10 points per game fewer than it did last season. It's ranked. It was number one in yards per game. It's like 21st now in yards per game. Tennessee was a big play machine last season. Now those big plays are fewer and far between. I thought it was, if you were just a fan of college football and Tennessee was playing on television last season, that would be one of the games I think a lot of people would want to watch just because of Tennessee's robust offense. I mean, it scored 66 on Missouri after kind of a slow start. But you don't see that now. The passing game has not delivered, and I think that's the reason for it. So I'm not saying it's Jeremy Pruitt boring. I'm just saying, and I'm speaking for these people who email me. I think they're saying compared to last year, this team just isn't as exciting as it was.
All right, let me ask you, Caleb, is this Tennessee team boring? And on the message board as well, I'm going to give you my retort. I think it's actually more intriguing than last year. But, Caleb, let me begin with you.
All right, a good comparison for me, because you said Jeffrey Pruitt boring, and yeah, it's not that level. Last year, because people say Josh Heupel's this era Steve Spurrier. Last year, Josh Heupel was Steve Spurrier at Florida. This year's Tennessee team is Josh Heupel with Steve Spurrier at South Carolina.
Ooh, it's actually pretty good, John. What do you think of that?
I think it's excellent because if you remember Steve Spurrier's South Carolina teams, it wasn't fun and gun offense. It was running the ball. How many times did what was his name? Marcus Lattimore, the running back there. Didn't he carry over 40 times in a game? Spurrier proved that he by then he'd put his offensive ego behind him, and he was doing everything he could to win games. And the best way to win games at South Carolina wasn't throwing it 45 times a game. It was running the ball and playing pretty good defense. That's a great comparison on Caleb's part.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm having trouble beating that one. So to the message board, Papa J saying boring against last year. Rocky Top Tom has some strong feelings on Joe Milton. People could characterize it as boring. I'm just incredibly PO'd to see our impotent offense being led by Joe Milton, who the coaches don't trust to run this thing the way it should be. Okay, to me, now maybe this is reporter Dave coming out as opposed to fan of college football Dave. I think it's actually more intriguing because this team is having to manufacture some yards in a different fashion. This team is better defensively, and as John can tell you, I like me some good defensive football. I think they're exciting up front defensively. They've got some great storylines. Now, it may have led to a loss, but the Cooper Mays storyline being out, Keenan Pillion will get to injuries and all of that they've dealt with. I actually think there's more intriguing storylines, John, but am I talking more from the journalism perspective than a fan perspective? Is that what I'm doing here?
I think you can answer that question yourself, Dave. It's not even close. Yeah, I don't think most fans care about intriguing storylines. They want to see the ball in the end zone. They want to see Steve Spurrier at Florida. They don't want to see Steve Spurrier at South Carolina.
Yeah. Caleb, am I looking at it through with my notepad in my back pocket? Is that the problem?
I'm actually going to break from John and semi-agree with you, Dave, but I think you're looking at it wrong. I think the storyline, the biggest storyline with
So
this is...
So you think we're both wrong, Caleb?
Yes, I'm the only right one here, guys. Don't you know? No, okay, I'm
He's
kidding.
such a contrarian.
What I was going to say was what I think this season is doing is I think it's intriguing largely because we always had this question of what's going to happen when Josh Heupel's offense is figured out. And I'm not saying his offense has been figured out, but he's showing this year more than he's ever showed any time as an offensive coordinator or a head coach. If he doesn't have the passing game, he can rely heavily on the run and beat you that way. And I think that's going to force defensive coordinators to reset again this offseason to say, oh, Josh Heupel can beat us in a lot of ways, not just with his wide splits and throwing it 80 yards down the field for touchdowns. And I think that's a big deal long-term for Josh Heupel.
I agree. Rocky Top Tom says that's a solid point, Dave. That characterization is intriguing because it's fly by the britches, shoestring style interesting. And then David has to say storylines are only good when you're winning. We can pretend like we care about something else besides winning. Well, and at the end of the day, the ultimate storyline is Joe Milton good enough to have this offense performing at an elite level? And I still don't think we know that heading into the middle of October. John, I think that is in and of itself an intriguing storyline.
Yeah, but you also have to say, yeah, Tennessee's winning a different way, but who is it actually beating? It's just beating a bunch of bad teams. So I don't, that doesn't mean anything. If you beat Alabama running the ball, that means something. If you beat Texas A&M running the ball, that means something because Texas A&M teams haven't been running the ball well on Texas A&M. They pretty much stonewall running games. So, yeah, that would be significant. But right now, yeah, Tennessee's winning in a different way, but it's winning against a bunch of nobodies.
Okay, so to both of you guys, Caleb, start with you. If Tennessee beats Alabama, okay, let's not make the jump to Georgia, but they beat Alabama in this boring fashion, am I more right that the storylines are intriguing because they led to a win in Tuscaloosa without the high-flying Jalen Hyatt catching 5 million touchdown passes?
Yeah, you're more right. Would Tennessee fans rather score 65 points a game or beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa? Like, obviously, the latter. And so, and also, I do want to say, and I brought this up yesterday. I brought up what John said yesterday, which is Tennessee hasn't played anybody. But statistically, I lamented South Carolina's rush defense yesterday. Did a little more digging overnight. The only reason South Carolina's rush defense is ranked so bad now is because they played Tennessee. They actually were giving up fewer than 4 yards a carry before they played Tennessee 2 weeks ago. And Tennessee gashed them so badly. That's why they're now ranked so low. So we kind of have to sit there and say, well, maybe Tennessee's run game against South Carolina was legitimate. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But South Carolina was giving up. We thought Tennessee was going to have to beat South Carolina through the air and expose that weak secondary and we thought they had a decent run defense, and Tennessee gashed them on the ground.
Yeah, and John, I do believe that this Tennessee team can win at a high level like that. Maybe that's where you and I are a little bit different, perhaps.
Well, I'm just not sure. But Caleb's right about South Carolina's defense. It stopped Georgia's running game, which isn't particularly efficient. It stops Georgia's run offense. It didn't stop Tennessee's. So, yeah, that's not the weakest point of South Carolina's team, which has several notable weaknesses. So, yeah, you could make that case. Tennessee, right now, and this is significant, I wrote this as a South Carolina game, is that Tennessee is running the ball better than Alabama and Georgia. And how many times have you seen that? And so, despite the weakness of schedule, I think that stat is significant when you do a little comparative shopping. However, to do that against Texas A&M's defense, if it runs the ball on Texas A&M, if it gets 170 yards rushing on Texas A&M, that would be a really significant and really would bode well for the rest of the season.
Now, Four Downs brought to you today by What the H brought to you today by our friends at Zen Sports. Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares. On Zen Sports, what you see is what you get. With their cash rewards program, you get a lot of cash for a welcome bonus. Earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the code HOOKED. That's HOOKED, HOOKED. Unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting, keep earning with up 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that. And refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better. Call 1-800-889-9789 for gambling problems. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and over and in Tennessee to bet. So basically, if Tennessee wins this way, that in Tuscaloosa, they're exciting. Right now, they're not very exciting, but I think there's a possibility of that.